What's going on, everybody? This is Derek J407, and I'm here to give you my thoughts and opinions on NXT TakeOver Philly, that being Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the latest TakeOver special brought to you by our friends from NXT, because once again, they knock it out of the park with a great TakeOver special, top to bottom. A great show, especially the two main events, that being the Extreme Rules match and the NXT Championship match. Just two of the best damn matches you'll ever see, and especially some real high praise to the title match. I'll get to that when we get to that match, but yeah, of course, this is on the eve of the Royal Rumble, which is tomorrow night, a big show. But this one, which going into it, I was looking forward to the show, especially the title match, but there just wasn't a whole lot of buzz around this particular TakeOver special. You know, like with other ones you have, you know, it being in Brooklyn, or, you know, the last one had War Games and all that kind of stuff, so there's some specialness to that one. There was nothing really unique that stood out heading into this show, but I mean, I trust NXT to produce quality TakeOver specials, and that's exactly what we got here tonight. So let's just go ahead and talk about the matches on this show. The first one, the opener. Well, before we get to that, the commentary team, it was just a two-man booth this time. It was Mauro Ranallo and Percy Watson. Nigel McGuinness was out sick. Not sure the extent of his illness, but I do wish him a full, speedy recovery. And for once, Percy Watson wasn't just completely pointless on commentary. Although Mauro Ranallo did do like the lion's share of the work and pretty much carried the commentary team, and he did a really good job. I mean, Percy Watson, like, more so than usual, he did a pretty good job, but I really commend Mauro Ranallo. This was really a good showcase for him, really owning the commentary for the night and being the voice of a lot of the big things that went down on the show, so props to him. Okay, with that out of the way, let's move on to the first match of the night, that being for the NXT Tag Team Championships. The Authors of Pain, with Paul Ellering in their corner, challenging Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly of the Undisputed Era. A pretty good opening match, nothing overly special about it. The fans were really into both teams. A lot of love for the AOP. They got some pretty big cheers. The match started out with the big guys just tossing around the little guys, you know. That was basically it until they got an opening, and that opening was, I forgot what the move was, but Akam, he tweaked his knee, and then Fish and O'Reilly, they kind of targeted that for a big chunk of the match when they took control. But of course, eventually, Akam got the hot tag on Razor, and they started to go crazy in there. But the Undisputed Era, Fish and O'Reilly, they held their own. At one point, Fish even hit an exploder suplex on Razor, which was a really cool feat of strength for him. But it got to a point where the Authors of Pain were dominating. They hit their Super Collider move. You know, they shoved the opponents back to back into each other, and then they give them separate power bombs. But in this case, one of them was able to hit Fish with the power bomb, but the other, actually no, it was O'Reilly who got hit with the power bomb, but Fish was still in position, and he turned it into a Hurricane Rana and knocked, I believe it was Razor, out of the ring. That left Akam with the bum leg and O'Reilly in the ring, and it led to a roll-up finish where O'Reilly rolled up Akam and got the win. So the Undisputed Era keep the tag team titles on this show. Like I said, a pretty good match. Probably the weakest match on the show, but that's not, well, actually, no, that would be, by a match standpoint, that would be the women's match. But I think the story of that match and that kind of overshadowed this one, because there really wasn't a whole lot of story in this, at least not as good as the one in the women's match, but we'll get to that. But yeah, a pretty good tag team match here, and a pretty good opener. They showed people in the crowd 3 times on this show, And the first time they showed people in the crowd was Hanson and Ray Rowe of War Machine. Of course, we know they were among the recent signees to NXT. So we got to see the two of them in the front row. And apparently they're keeping their names. They called him Hanson. They called the other one Rowe. Well, Raymond Rowe is his name, so they call him by his name. But more importantly, they're still going by War Machine. So that's good. I think the two of them against the Authors of Pain could be a pretty cool match to see maybe at the next TakeOver special. And eventually builds up to the two of them taking on O'Reilly and Fish for the tag team titles. So welcome aboard. Up next, we had a thrown together at the last minute match. Kassius Ohno taking on the Velveteen Dream. They tried to put a little story into this match on the pre-show. The Dream, he promised that he would get a knockout victory within the first 30 seconds of the match. 30 seconds or less, it would take him to knock out and beat Kassius Ohno, he said. So, you know, they both get in the ring. The crowd is firmly in the corner of the Velveteen Dream. They even start counting along, you know, and it looked like he was gonna, you know, stay true to his word, because he got a good punch in on Ohno and knocked him down. I didn't know if Ohno was faking it or not, or what was going on, but now he knocked him down, and it looked like that was about it. But Ohno got back up and then hit his own forearm and big boot and all that kind of stuff, and got booed. Kassius Ohno was not liked in this match, at least not compared to the Velveteen Dream. So they proceeded to have a pretty good back and forth match. At one point, the Velveteen Dream, he did botch a Death Valley driver. Like, Ohno was going for his own move, and he like ran into Dream, and he was supposed to like catch him in midair and then hit him with the rolling Death Valley driver, but he kind of botched it a little bit. And Mauro Ranallo, who I mentioned before, he did a good job covering up. You know, he was saying something like, Velveteen Dream got a little too, you know, overconfident, and that he underestimated how heavy Kassius Ohno was and how difficult it would be to perform that maneuver. So a good little cover up there. But he made up for it, because he did eventually hit the move, and then he went up to the top rope. He went up to the top post, the very top of the steel post, and hit his purple Rainmaker elbow. A beautiful, beautiful, pitch perfect elbow drop right on the chest of Kassius Ohno, and got the win. So it's not the best gimmick in the world, but it works for Patrick Clark. He's gotten it over. The fans fucking love him. You know, they were chanting "Say my name" and all that kind of stuff. So the dude's over. He's doing something right, and I'm digging it. I'm really digging his character. He's one of my favorite characters, not in just NXT, but in the entire company right now. So good for him. Up next, we had the NXT Women's Championship match. Ember Moon defending her championship against Shayna Baszler. If you don't know who Shayna Baszler is, she was one of the participants in the Mae Young Classic, the women's tournament that took place over the summer. She was the runner-up. She lost to Kairi Sane. She made her debut on NXT like a month ago, I want to say, attacking Kairi Sane. And since then, she's been on a warpath that led her to get a championship match in her first big TakeOver appearance here. And yeah, this entire match, it wasn't, I can't even say it was a match. It was mainly like basically the angle. You know, it was just one big storyline. So the match starts, you know, they're going back and forth, but eventually Shayna gets Ember down and kind of targets her arm. She does this really cool move where she has her arm kind of, you know, pressed down on the mat, and she stomps on it. So from that moment, Ember Moon is selling an arm injury, so she's down. But Ember Moon did fight back, and she even hit the Eclipse, but she hit it at the expense of her own health, because then she started to sell the arm injury, and, you know, she was just crying in pain. They called the medical personnel backstage. They called them out there to check on her. But that didn't stop Shayna Baszler. She went over and locked her in an armbar for what felt like forever. I think a good 80% of this match was Shayna Baszler locking Ember Moon in the armbar. So And it was funny that, you know, after Ember Moon hit the Eclipse, all the doctors and all that kind of stuff, they were ready to call this match, but then Shayna Baszler locks Ember Moon in the armbar for like what felt like 5 straight minutes, and there was no attempt to stop the match or anything like that. So she kept her in it. Ember, she kept trying to escape, she kept trying to reverse it, she kept trying to go for the ropes and all that kind of stuff, but Baszler kept preventing her from doing so. But eventually she got in a position where she got to the ropes, but Baszler pulled her away and locked her right back in the hold, kept her in it for a little while longer. But eventually, Ember Moon kind of rolled her like really forward, got her legs all the way on top of her head and face, and got the victory. So Ember Moon just barely survived with the Women's Championship. She was selling the hell out of that arm injury. Shayna Baszler looked distraught, and after the match, she attacked her. Instead of relocking her in the armbar, she instead puts her in a rear naked choke, which I thought was kind of weird. I mean, I guess, you know, that's her big move, but it's like you were working over the arm. You would think you go right after that. That's where the heat is, but the fact that she attacked her at all was heat enough. So, Ember Moon gets the win, but only just barely. Shayna Baszler, man, she's only been in NXT for a few weeks, but she's already one of my favorite women's characters in NXT in the entire company, so I expect her to get that championship in New Orleans. I expected some kind of finish like this. I was thinking maybe a finish where Ember's locking a submission and she gets pinned. She pins Shayna, but she taps out at the same time. So, in a way, a finish where it would make sense for Shayna Baszler to get a rematch. And, you know, you can have Shayna just running completely roughshod over all the women in the Performance Center and on NXT and all that kind of stuff until Ember Moon agrees to give her a rematch, and then set that up for TakeOver New Orleans, and Shayna Baszler can either break her arm or choke her out or whatever you want to do. She can win the championship there. So pretty good storytelling in this match, and I look forward to seeing what these two ladies have next. We go back to the crowd to see who else is there, and this time we see Trevor Mann, otherwise known as Ricochet. They had the little label on there, that's his name, Trevor Ricochet Mann, so I guess that's what they're going with. They're going with Trevor Mann, and Ricochet is his nickname, not his official ring name, but his nickname, so hey, glad to have him. He can easily be plugged in as one of the top faces in NXT right now, so they're more than happy to welcome him in. Now we get to the final 2 matches of the night, the 2 big main events that they were hyping up for this show. And first up was the Extreme Rules match. Adam Cole, baby, okay, I couldn't resist. Adam Cole versus Aleister Black. What can I say? These guys had a terrific match. It was a brawl. It was brutal. There were a lot of crazy spots in this match, but it was a damn good match. So the crowd starts chanting, "This is awesome," before the match even starts, which I thought was kind of weird. I mean, I like both these guys, but I didn't think that the crowd will react that way, but I thought that was pretty cool. There was an opening sequence that involved a chair where, Aleister Black, he does a thing where he kind of, backflips off the ropes and gets into a seated position. Adam Cole was on the outside and he got a chair and he threatened to get in there and use it on Black, but Black was just still sitting there. And eventually Cole got in there. He tried to use the chair. Black ducked, kicked him out of the ring. He had the chair in his hand, but then instead of going out there and using it, he sat it up and sat down on it and just stared at Adam Cole, which was one of the first cool what the fuck spots of, well, not what the fuck, but kind of just like holy shit spots of the match. There were a few times early on where, Aleister Black kind of, like he had a weapon, like at one point the two of them had a standoff with kendo sticks, but, Black kind of tossed it aside and just didn't want to use it, almost like, he doesn't need any weapons. That was kind of the story they were building up there early on. But, he quickly realized maybe I do need weapons, because he went for a, moonsault, but in midair, when he was coming back down, Adam Cole got him right in the gut with a, kendo stick shot. So, and we were off from there, you know, bunch of other weapons, chairs, trash cans, and of course, tables. Many well, not many tables, but it was like 3 tables that got set up. I think Adam Cole set up one, and then Aleister Black set up another one. There might have been one more, but I think maybe it was just 2. Maybe I'm just remembering 2, but there were a few tables out there. So we get this spot, speaking of the tables, well, first, before the table, we had a ladder. I believe it was Aleister Black who brought in a ladder, set it up in the corner in the ring. He and Cole were fighting around it. And eventually, Black had Cole up on his shoulders, almost in an electric chair position, but instead he kind of just launched him over his head, spine and ass first into the ladder, which was a brutal spot. It just looked like it sucked. You know, it was very brutal. And then from there, we got the setup for the use of the table. So, Aleister Black was up on the top rope. Adam Cole's still in the ring with the chair. He picks up the chair, he throws it at Aleister Black. Black catches it, has a position right in front of his face. And from there, Cole super kicks the chair into Black's face, and he falls off the turnbuckle to the outside, through the tables, out there. So, a big holy shit spot right there. They get back in the ring. Black gets back in the ring. Cole tries to pin him, only good for a 2 count. Cole sets up 2 chairs, 2 folding chairs. He sets them in a seated position and has them seated upright. So the top edges are, you know, kind of back to back. And, he tries to go for a move on it, but instead Aleister Black gets him up for the fisherman suplex and has him land right on up on that top part of the chair. It looked like it sucked. It looked like Adam Cole's gonna need a chiropractor after this match. So it looked like that was it. That was said and done. But of course, he knew O'Reilly and Fish were gonna find their way out here, and of course they did. They attacked Aleister Black. They hit him with the Chasing the Dragon finish on the outside. And then they went over to the announce table. The announce table was at ringside on this show. So they went over there. They're about to put him through the table. They were going to do something to him, but out came Sanity. Almost forgot about them. They came out there, and they attacked Fish and O'Reilly and chased the 2 of them off. So there was a big brawl with all of those guys. Meanwhile, Adam Cole, he tries to suplex Aleister Black off of these crates that were kind of set up in the corner right by the announce table. You knew someone was diving off of them, and that's what happened. So Cole was trying to go for a suplex off of that through the announce table, but instead, Black kind of kicked him off and put him on the table, and Black hit diving double knees right onto Adam Cole, putting him through the announce table. So again, really cool spot. That sounds redundant, but I mean, there was a lot of cool spots in this match. So they get back in the ring. Cole, I think he super kicked him again. I'm not 100% sure. He either did that or hit him with a chair. I think he just super kicked him. And then he picks up the chair. He goes to hit Black with it, but Aleister Black ends up hitting Black Mass and TKO, and that was over. Well, not TKO. More like just a regular KO. See, this is what I get for trying to talk boxing lingo when I don't understand it. He knocked the fucker out, and that was it for Adam Cole. That got the 1, 2, 3, and Aleister Black is still undefeated, at least in singles action, in NXT. I thought, you know, his undefeated singles record was coming to an end on this show to Adam Cole, but it did not happen. And of course, up to this point, best match of the night, one of the best WWE matches of the entire year so far. Great stuff. I'm sure I'll remember this match by the end of the year, unless, you know, there's a lot of other great stuff to come. But yeah, just a fantastic brawl, just great back and forth action, some crazy spots between the 2 of them. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. And the final person we saw in the crowd was none other than EC3. The former Ethan Carter III, of course, Derek Bateman, but the big EC3 from TNA. And they had the little card that said his name, and it was EC3, but instead of it just being one thing, it was EC space 3. So, I guess that little space is going to be the determining factor. Now the question is, what is EC going to stand for? Are they going to call him Ethan Carter? Pick some other douchey name? I don't know. Maybe Evan Carter or something like that. Evan Christopher, I don't know. Some rich douchebag name or something like that. I don't know. But, hey, that role that Bobby Roode filled, as the top heel in NXT, I'm sure EC3 can fill it just fine. So, looking forward to seeing what kind of things he does. I kind of would have liked to see him on the main roster, but, NXT will be fine for him. It should be good. And then we get to the main event, the NXT Championship match. Andradae Cien Almas with Zelina Vega in his corner, taking on Johnny Gargano. Now, earlier in the night, they showed backstage Gargano back there with his family, you know, his parents, his wife, Candice LeRae, who also got signed to a contract to NXT. So she's officially signed. We saw her have her little moment to shine later on in the match. Now, maybe it's because this match is really fresh in my mind. I just saw it. I don't know, but I think I'm going out on a limb here by saying that I believe that this was the best NXT Championship match of all time. Obviously, so far in WWE in this calendar year, it is the best match of the year. And it could very well remain that by the end of the year. We have no idea. But even more so than that, like, not thinking about that, just thinking about the history of these takeover shows and NXT Championship matches and all that kind of stuff, without seeing all of them recently, and this one just being freshest in my mind, this was probably the greatest NXT Championship match of all time. This was a great match. The storytelling, the pacing, the drama of this entire match, everything worked. Everything about this match worked. And the post-match, perfect stuff. So, where do we even start? Well, it was evenly matched. You know, in the beginning, you know, they did, you know, different exchanges and all that kind of stuff. The crowd was into it. But then stuff started to get really good. It got to the outside. At one point, Gargano tried to hit a diving senton off the apron, but he missed, almost moved out of the way, and he landed back first onto the outside, which looked brutal. I think it happened right in front of Candice LeRae and the family and all that kind of stuff too. So they fight some more. A real technical wrestling match, like a real wrestling match. So the previous match was a brawl. It was crazy. Had all these spots, the fans, you know, chanting, "This is awesome, holy shit," and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, how are these guys going to follow this? And they followed it with a wrestling match. And, you know, you never know with these crowds how they're going to react to something like that. But this crowd was into it. They loved Johnny Gargano. That helped. There was a whole lot of Johnny wrestling chants. And they appreciated that. They appreciated his namesake. You know, this was a real wrestling match. And it was that for the first half of it, you know. And it was good. It was a lot of great stuff. At one point, there was this like really crazy back and forth sequence that led to Almas hitting an inverted DDT off the top rope, only good for a near fall. And right after that, the fans broke out into a standing ovation right in the middle of the match. There was a lot of great stuff that led up to that, but I just remember that sticking out to me. We don't see that too often. The last time I remember seeing that in WWE was that big blow-off match, quote-unquote, between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn at Battleground in 2016, I believe it was. That was supposed to be their final big match, and then they went on to have several matches on TV after that. But I remember that match being really good. That was one of the best matches of that year. And the fans, they broke out into a standing ovation during the middle of that match too. So you don't see it that often. And it was well deserved here because the stuff they were doing up to that point was good. So that was pre-standing ovation. So post-standing ovation is when the drama really started. A lot of crazy near falls in this match. At one point, Gargano, he does this like flip over thing where he jumps over the top rope and lands a DDT on his opponent right as he comes down. He did that here, but instead he DDT'd him on the apron. They were using the apron a lot in this match. So he did that. I think that was a near fall. Gargano hit him with the lawn dart, which is just a brutal move. The one here looked brutal, and that's not even the worst of it. It's not even the worst of it. I remember in the Cruiserweight Classic when Gargano did that to TJ Perkins. That looked brutal. You know, that's a very brutal move, and it got a big reaction from the crowd in this match. I think this was one of the times where Zelina Vega tried to interfere, and it almost cost Gargano, because it ended up leading to Almas hitting the running knees in the corner, but it was only good for a 2 count, so really close near fall here. At one point, Gargano, he was his legs were tied up and he was on the outside, right near the apron and the outside and all that kind of stuff. And Almas hit the the diving foot stomp from the turnbuckle onto Gargano and planting him right on the apron, shoulder and back first and all that kind of stuff, neck. Gargano was taking some punishment in this match. And at that point, he started to almost started to bash Johnny's head into the little steel, not the steel, the video board that's on the ring skirt now. He was bashing his head into that, and they weren't playing up a concussion, but they were playing up the fact that Gargano wasn't all there for the rest of this match, but damn it, he was still fighting through it. Almost hit the running knees again, and again, it was a really close near fall. Gargano ended up on the outside. Zelina Vega, almost was distracting the referee, and Zelina Vega hit a head scissors on Gargano, sending him headfirst into the steel steps. And then almost got him back in the ring, hit him with the hammerlock DDT that, for the most part, we see when almost hits that move is over for you. So he hits that, and only good for a 2 count. The fans lost their shit at this point. So Gargano, he's on the other side of the ring. Zelina Vega, she's on the way other side, so she tries to come around and try to interfere some more. This would have been her 3rd or 4th time interfering, but this time Candice LeRae jumped from the crowd. She came over the barricade and tackled Zelina Vega and started to punch and hit on her, and that led her out of there. So good to see Candice LeRae getting physical here. Then Almas and Gargano, they were fighting some more. They were fighting up on, the apron. I feel like they were on the apron a good 5 times in this match. This time it was the deciding factor. So up to this point, they built up that Gargano, he's pretty banged up here. And this was the final nail in the coffin for him. While on the apron, Almas kind of shoved him back first into the steel post. Then he backed up and hit the double knees again, sending him head first, the back of the head, mind you, into the steel post. And got him back in the ring, hit that draping DDT from the top rope, spiked his head into the mat, got the 1, 2, 3, and Andradae Cien Almas is still NXT champion. That little playback of what happened, that doesn't even do it justice. This was a great match. This was a fantastic match. The storytelling of Gargano doing whatever he could to fight back, to kick out all these moves and all this stuff. It was really cool. Of course, Zelina Vega's constant interference to the point where, Gargano's wife, who was sitting there in the crowd, she couldn't help but stand by and keep watching this. So she jumps the barricade and tackles her down. All that was great, and the near falls, we didn't see constant kicking out of finishers, although Almas did go for the double knees, the running knees in the corner. He went for that. I think he hit it 3 or 4 times, at different points in the match. But the big finish for him is the DDT now. So he has, I guess it's 3 finishers. He has the running knees, he has the hammerlock DDT, and now he has the draping DDT. That's what finished off Drew McIntyre at the last TakeOver special, and that's what did it for Gargano here. So a great match. After the match, Almas leaves, and Candice LeRae is helping Gargano go to the back, and you're just waiting for it, you know, like they're not going off the air. It doesn't even look like they're close to going off the air. They put the little logo up in the corner, which you know by now, that doesn't mean dick until you see them start to fade to black, which they didn't. Then you could hear the crowd start to pop, and of course, out of nowhere comes Tommaso Ciampa using his crutch and just whacking it right over Johnny Gargano's back, laid him out. Just such an asshole move, you know. So Ciampa was on the show. He had a knee brace on. He was limping, and he just looked down at him. He had this cold, dead stare in his eyes, looking down at him. It was pretty fucked up stuff. A really cold finish to this show, you know. And of course, Candice, you know, she's trying to get Gargano back up. She was saying like his back is bleeding or something like that. We didn't really see his back. But Ciampa just looked over him, and then he slowly left. I thought he was gonna use that crutch on Candice LeRae, but it did not happen. There's still time. So I don't know what this means for the two of them. I mean, obviously they reintroduced him for a reason. I don't know how, you know, he's doing with the healing. I don't know. Maybe we could get this match in New Orleans. You know, that's the next TakeOver special, right on WrestleMania weekend. That could be cool. Just think about a double main event of Aleister Black challenging Andradae Cien Almas for the NXT Championship, and Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa. That could be pretty good. That's one hell of a top billing right there. Those 2 matches alone get me more excited than the projected card for WrestleMania. So yeah, but just focusing on this show, like I said, those last 2 matches on this TakeOver show were great, especially the title match, which, I mean, maybe, you know, I'll look back at some of the other ones. There's been a lot of ones. I think about Sami Zayn and Neville, the one from the last TakeOver special, Drew McIntyre and Andradae Cien Almas on that show. I think Nakamura and Rude had at least 2 really good matches. I remember there being a 4-way with Zayn, Neville, Tyson Kidd, and Tyler Breeze at one point. There's been a lot of great ones, but I think that this one, story-wise and just the overall nature of it, it was a terrific match. The Extreme Rules match was great too. These are your 2 top best matches in WWE all year. In wrestling overall, maybe 2 and 3 behind Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega from Wrestle Kingdom. But a strong show, a strong night for wrestling, and Royal Rumble has a lot to live up to, I should say. So I'm very anxious to see how they do that tomorrow night. I'll be watching that show, both the men and women's Royal Rumble matches, to see how that turns out. Hopefully WWE doesn't fuck them up, and we'll see how they hold up. So I'll have a review for you about that. Until then, take care, y'all.